Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to our Kashmir Cultural Heritage Awareness Series. Today is our 100th and a special program commemorating our 100th. And we have the pleasure of having Vice Chancellor Raj Nehru. And I'll give you a briefing about that soon. Before we commence our program, as always, we will begin with our prayer by Shri Pennathur Ashok Subramaniam. Ashok?
Yes.
Yes, Ashok, you are here. Okay, I'll just give a brief before you start. Ashok ji has appeared many times in our series before. A physics and electronics engineering graduate from Loyola College, Madras, and MIT Chennai, alumnus of MIT from 1982. He has settled in California for almost 30 years. Now, phasing out of his engineering career and being passionate about Karnataka Sangeetam, he started teaching to aspiring students in San Francisco Bay Area for the past 25 years. Equally passionate about Tamil literature, he is a natural poet in traditional Tamil poem and has done translative poetry of Mukha Panchasati, Lalita Sahasranamam and Sivananda Lagari. In addition, he has done research commentary of Tirukkural, both in Tamil and English, with Peetadhipati, and writing couplets in both English and Tamil for each verse. Thank you, Ashok ji, for joining us very early in the morning, 6:30, right?
Yes, 6:30. I've been awake for
Thank you.
For an hour now.
And incidentally, I wanted to mention one more thing. Ashok Subramaniam's daughter, Ananya Ashok, appears in our music academy, prestigious music academy, during our December music season. Please.
Karana Parachitrupa Kanchipurasimni Kama Peethakada Kachana Viharati Karuna Kashmirastapagam Komalagarata Andadikarani Ahdu Kadalda Agalda Chitta Vildu Solavuna Kali Udayal Viyakum Arutkanninal Kanchi Karunayal Kamiram Kan Kirusan Udalal Uyarkama Pitam Urai Bavale Nirajakshi Kamakshi Nirada Chikure Nirajakshi Kamakshi Nirada Chikure Tripure Nirajakshi Kamakshi Nirada Chikure Tripure Nirajakshi Sharadaramanayane Sarasa Chaudranane Sharadaramanayane Sarasa Chaudranane Varijapade Varade Tarayamam Tattvapade Varijapade Varade Tarayamam Tattvapade Nirajakshi Kamakoti Nirada Chikure Tripure Nirajachi Gauri Hindola Juti Hiramani Maya Bharane Gauri Hindola Juti Hiramani Maya Bharane Sauri Viruti Vinuta Shiva Shakti Maya Navavarane Nari Manya Jajida Navanadanta Karane Nari Manya Jajida Navanadanta Karane Suri Janazam Sevita Sundara Guru Guga Karane Nirajakshi Kamachi Nirata Chikure Tripure Nirajaji Kamachi.
Thank you, Ashok ji. It was really wonderful.
Thank you.
Vice Chancellor Nehru, if you like that music, maybe you should come to Chennai and during December music season.
Shankarji,
Certainly.
Ashok.
Shankarji, the first slokam is the very first slokam of Arya Sadakam in Mukha Pajasati, and following verse was my translative verse of the same in Tamil.
Oh, that's what I mentioned in the brief. Oh, that is very nice.
I could hear a couple of words that I could understand. One was Chitrupini. Another was a word which was about Sharada.
Yes.
And Kashmir.
Yes.
So I could connect these words when you were using them in the prayers.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ashok ji. You can stay tuned and watch the program.
Yes.
And keep joining us for prayer. And you have a lot more to offer.
Definitely, Shankarji. Thank you. Thank you, Raj, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chancellor. I just want to give a brief. Then before I hand over to you, we want to thank Sri Kanchi Mutt for our ongoing initiative that was started almost 3 years ago on August 15, 2021. And offer our namaskarams to His Holiness, Sri Shankara Vijayendra Saraswathi Swamigal. Kanchi Mutt has always been in the forefront, modestly working with the sole aim of national integration, spiritual enlightenment, and preserving the uniqueness of Kashmir, as Kashmir is our cultural heritage. We now have regular interactions with Kashmiri Pandits, more temple yatras being planned, and which are a big part of Kashmir visits. During our visit, we find very friendly Kashmiris, and some even speaking Tamil and also Tamil songs. We are delighted having Vice Chancellor Dr. Raj Nehru for our today's program, that is 100th. Vice Chancellor Dr. Nehru already appeared in our series a few times, and his first was during our 29th series, and his title was Kashmir's Contribution in Fundamental Unity of India, Education and National Integration. Some of you can, if you have not watched, it's better to go through and watch some of these, which are like foundation courses to understand Kashmir. We are now very pleased to welcome him again with this brief intro. Raj Nehru is the youngest founding Vice Chancellor in the country, who left his lucrative corporate career to serve the dream of transforming national skill ecosystem that is on high priority in the state and in the country. He has been appointed as the Vice Chancellor of Shri Vishwakarma Skill University, Government of Haryana, the first skill university of India, ranking 6th in the world. his former roles. His resume goes a couple of pages, very interesting, but I'm going to just mention his former roles. Vice Chancellor of J.C. Bose University of Science and Technology, YMCA Faridabad, Mission Director, Haryana Skill Development Mission, Director on the Board of Haryana State Electronics Development Corporation Limited, Member on formation of Implementation Plan for National Educational Policy 2020, Member of Advisory Council of Policy Research Foundation for Life, Member in Northwestern Regional Committee at All India Council for Technical Education, New Delhi, Chairman by UGC for Expert Committee Guidelines for Cultural Aspects, Assessment Criteria and Credit System in Skill-Based Vocational Courses under National Skill Qualification Framework. Member, Executive Committee of Global Skills Park, Bhopal, recently member of the governing body Dayal Singh College, University of Delhi. Vice Chancellor Nehru, we are so privileged having you again in our series, and please, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Shankarji. Is my voice audible?
Yes.
Thank you very much. First of all, my namaskar to all of you, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on this very profound topic. I'm not a master of this topic, but with the grace of Almighty Lord Shiva, in last couple of years, I have been pulled towards this subject, and with that grace, I have been trying to read as much as possible, understand as much as possible. But this is a subject like an ocean, and getting even a small drop out of it is His blessing and grace. So, today, in an attempt to speak on this topic, I'm sure that it's a part of my own learning. So, I will learn while speaking about this. And with my folded hands, I pray to that Almighty to give me that strength to speak about this topic, because it's very difficult to really explain the various aspects of Kashmir Shaivism. And with His grace and the grace of the Master, so I'm just beginning. And thank you to Shankarji for getting me in for this topic. So before I start about Kashmir Shaivism, I want to remind most of you, you might have seen a movie. Movie's name is Interstellar. It is a movie directed by Christopher Nolan. It's a science fiction film about a team of astronauts traveling through a wormhole near Saturn to find a new habitable planet for the humanity. And the movie is beautifully exploring and explaining the themes of time dilation and human survival. While it goes through the challenges of time dilation, gravity, black holes, wormholes, and human preservance, it gives us a very beautiful picture in the contemporary times how time dilation is seen. But this movie also inspired me to go back and look into our Puranic stories, the thousands of years old back, certain stories which have been captured. And in those stories, there is a beautiful story of Raja and King Kakudami and his daughter Revati. In fact, King Kakudami, who is very much worried about getting his daughter Revati married, so he wants to seek consultation from Lord Brahma. And in the process of seeking and wanting to have consultations from Lord Brahma, he decides to go to the Brahmalok. And as per the story, when he takes his daughter and wants to go to and goes for and travels for Brahmalok, after reaching Brahmalok, he has to wait there for Lord Brahma for 3 days. And after 3 days, when Brahma returns back and meets him and asks him about his intention of coming and meeting him, Raja Kakudami, the king Kakudami, explains to Lord Brahma that there are so many, young boys or princesses whom he wants to marry, and he has to choose one out of them. And that is why he has come to Lord Brahma to seek his consultation, to seek his blessings and suggestions. On hearing this, Lord Brahma, as per the story, laughs at King Kakudami. And King Kakudami is surprised. He surprisingly asks him, Lord, why are you laughing at me? On that, the Lord Brahma says that, for last 3 days you have been waiting here, and by these 3 days, 3 yugas have passed. And now there is no kingdom of King Kakudami. There are many more people who have passed away, and many new kings have come in. And this story is also like an interstellar movie, which gives us profound insights about the nature of time, human perseverance, and impermanence of worldly affairs. And why I brought this story before I start about Kashmir Shaivism is that what the contemporary science is trying to explore and experiment today, most of the stories, most of the concepts and philosophies have captured that millennial back. And Kashmir Shaivism is one such philosophy that has been, that has talked about certain concepts and philosophies that today contemporary science, which is metaphysics, quantum physics, and quantum mechanics, is trying to deal with. So while the Interstellar talked about the wormholes, and the wormhole, which in the contemporary science is a theoretical passage through space-time that creates shortcuts for long journeys across the universe, because there is not only one universe, there are many universes. If you read Tantra Loka by Acharya Abhinav Gupta, he explains in Tantra Loka that through his meditative powers, he has been able to see more than 112 universes. So this vision symbolizes the vastness of the diversity of existence within the realm of the overall design that the nature has created for us. I also want you to take your few minutes and explain and connect you with another experiment. Very recently, most of you might have read about it. This is called double slit experiment. In double slit experiment, the scientists, what they did, a series of photon lights were passed through two double slits. And as they passed the series of photon lights, they were fired at a solid plate that was behind those two slits. Through those two slits, they fired these single photon lights. On the other side of the solid plate, what happened? A photographic plate is set up to record what comes out of these two slits. And to the surprise of the scientists, what they found that when the photon lights were passed through these two slits and no one was observing it, there was an interference pattern, and that interference pattern created many waves. And because of those multiple waves, multiple bands got created on the solid plate on the other side. So this was an experiment where there was no observation done. But when the scientists performed the same experiment, but this time they placed some cameras to record how these bands were formed, because the photons had only passed through two slits, and on the other side multiple bands had got created. So they were very curious to find how this happened. So they placed some cameras to record. And to their surprise, when the observation started, the interference pattern that had happened in the previous experiment disappeared. And now these waves started behaving like particles. And because they behaved like particles, so on the wall where the images were getting projected, only two bands, because only two slits through which these photons were passing, and on the wall only two bands happened. This was very surprising for the scientists. So what they concluded, that this double slit experiment suggested that the act of measurement of observation affected the outcome. Before observation, particles were existing in a superposition of the states, and the interference pattern emerged through which multiple bands they could see on the other side of the wall. But the moment they started observing it, measuring it, the particles collapsed into a definitive state. And on the other side, on the slit, on the wall, only two bands were formed. So the collapse of the wave function raised a very fundamental question about the role of consciousness in shaping the physical reality. So the scientists were intrigued with the question that does the act of observing, which involves consciousness, influence the state of the particles? So the experiment illustrated that reality may not be as fixed as it seems, and that our perception or observation might influence the nature of reality at a quantum level. Now, this is what the double slit experiment found. But if we look at this state of consciousness from the ancient perspective, from how our manuscripts, especially the Kashmir Shaivism, has talked about, it has explained consciousness in its various manuscripts. And Kashmir, so now I would like to bring how Kashmir Shaivism views consciousness. It sees consciousness as a Shiva consciousness. Now, they called it consciousness in the contemporary time. In case of Kashmir Shaivism, this is called Chitti. So Chitti and consciousness in the contemporary times is same. The only difference is the modern scientists, they call consciousness where something or someone is becoming aware of. So there's a duality in consciousness. But the Chitti is a non-dual way of looking at it. But we don't have any close word today to explain Chitti in English. So consciousness is the most closest word that can be referred to when we are talking about the consciousness of Kashmir Shaivism, which is Chitti. So Kashmir Shaivism gives consciousness as a Shiva consciousness. They say the consciousness is Param Shiva. And that is the ultimate and fundamental and universal non-dual reality that is identified with Lord Shiva. It is the ultimate source from which all phenomenon emerges and to which everything will return back, transcending all dualities such as subject or object, self or others. So in case of Kashmir Shaivism, this consciousness or this Chitti is observer as well as the observed in itself, which is transcending all illusions and separatedness. What we see in the contemporary science, the consciousness, it has a separatedness. There's a knower and a known. There is an observer and an observed. But in case of Kashmir Shaivism, the Chitti or the consciousness, both are one. And from that one emerges everything. And in that one, everything comes back. So universal consciousness, what we also call it, in Kashmir Shaivism, we call it Paramashiva. And this is the unified essence of all the reality. All the individual cells, which we includes the jiva like me and you, are reflection of this universal consciousness. So one is the universality of this Paramashiva. The second is the interconnectedness, that everyone is connected with each other. So if everything is emerging from Paramashiva, that means everyone is Paramashiva. The elements of Paramashiva are existing in everyone. So everyone is interconnected. So true understanding of this Paramashiva includes or involves recognizing one's own consciousness as a part of the universal consciousness. So what happens that as the Paramashiva, which is the universal consciousness, comes down and forms a jiva, which is the microcosm, from a macrocosm which becomes a microcosm. The illusions, the certain aspects which prevent this microcosm to recognize that macrocosm, but that process of self-realization is how one has to recognize. So there are steps that have been explained in Kashmir Shaivism, that how this microcosm has to access and understand and get aware of that macrocosm. And the third important part in this consciousness in Kashmir Shaivism is the Maya, that is the illusion. And Maya is apparently, it's not that things are unreal. But in Kashmir Shaivism, the Maya is about the ability of that consciousness to create diversity, to have the power to change from one form to another form. So that is how the manifestation moves from one state to another state, and that is what Maya is concerned in Kashmir Shaivism. So before I go into a little bit more detail, let me also share with you who are the founders of this Kashmir Shaivism. Though Kashmir Shaivism has its root very old roots, right from Mohenjo-daro and Harappa culture, where the certain aspects of Shaivism have been found, but the founders who actually propounded the Kashmir Shaivism philosophy started from Acharya Vasugupta. So Acharya Vasugupta was one of the biggest scholars of Kashmir, who had a dream, and in that dream, it is said that Lord Shiva directed him to a place in Kashmir where he told him that there certain hymns are written. And it is said that Acharya Vasugupta went to that place, meditated at that place, and he heard certain hymns in his meditation, which he documented, and that became Shiva Sutras in Kashmir. Acharya Vasugupta had two disciples, Acharya Kalata and Acharya Somananda. And this is where Acharya Kalata started the Spanda school and Acharya Somananda started the Pratibhignya school. So I'll talk about them in a little more time after this. So Acharya Somananda had another disciple. His name was Acharya Utpaldev. Acharya Utpaldev also did a lot of work on Pratibhignya philosophy, and he had a very renowned scholar as his disciple, who after some years became the biggest polymath of Kashmir, biggest philosopher, scholar, musician, the person who wrote Dhwani Loka, Tantra Loka, the Acharya Abhinav Gupta. And Acharya Abhinav Gupta had a disciple, his name was Acharya Khemaraj. And this is how the entire lineage continued. And after Acharya Khemaraj, we also had Acharya Bhutiraja, Acharya Bhairavnatha, Acharya Lakshman Gupta, Acharya Shambhunatha, and Acharya Vamanatha. And then in the recent times, we had Yogini Laleshwari, which we also called Laldet. And then we had Acharya Jayarath. And recently we had Acharya Ramji and Acharya Lakshmanju. So Acharya Lakshmanju has been the most profound one, whose school continues to be today in Kashmir, and it's called Lakshmanju's Ashram in Kashmir. So, with these scholars, the Kashmir Shaivism had four important schools, and these are the non-dualistic schools that Kashmir Shaivism had, and they emphasized on the unity of all things, and the unity of all things. Besides, it also talked about the liberation of individual consciousness from the limitations of ego and separation. So, four schools that are very famous in Kashmir Shaivism are Kaula school, Krama school, Pratibhigna school, and Spanda school. And these four schools have got four different areas to work as far as the Kashmir Shaivism is concerned. So today we are going to refer more about the Pratibhigna school, which is the most critical component in the Trikha philosophy. So I'll be talking and referring to that more frequently. So in the Pratibhigna school, the Paramashiva is considered as the supreme Shiva, and he's not merely a deity who is sitting on the Mount Kailasha with Mata Parvati. In Kashmir Shaivism, Shiva is considered to be a non-form, and and he is considered to be the highest level of consciousness beyond all dualities and distinctions. And his nature is defined in two forms. One is Prakasha and another is Vimarsha. So Prakasha and Vimarsha are the two important attributes of Param Shiva. Now, Prakasha is the eternal light without which nothing can appear. So this aspect of Shiva represents the illumination, represents the light of the consciousness. While as Vimarsha, this aspect allows self-awareness and the power of self-reflection. And it is through this Vimarsha that Shiva becomes aware of his own essence and manifests in the universe. So Vimarsha can also be considered as the Swabhav, the nature of Shiva. So Prakasha and Vimarsha can also be seen as Shiva and Shakti, the masculine and the feminine, though both of them are not separate. Both of them are one, but for the purpose of understanding, they are referred as Shiva and Shakti. They are referred as masculine and feminine. They are referred as Prakasha and Vimarsha. So in Kashmir Shaivism, the Pratibhigna Hridayam is what has been written by Acharya Khemaraj, and in that manuscript, the first shloka is about it talks about Chitti Swatantra Vishwasiddhi Hetu. So the Chitti, as I said, is the ultimate consciousness. Now this ultimate consciousness has the ability to expand and contract. This ultimate consciousness is limitless. It is it doesn't have any boundaries, and this ultimate consciousness comprises of energy, self-realization, self-awareness. This chitti is the luminosity of that ultimate power that we call Param Shiva. So Acharya Khemaraj writes in his Pratibhigna Hridayam, Chitti Swatantra Vishwasiddhi Hetu. He says that Chitti, which is the ultimate consciousness from which Prakasha and Vimarsha emerges, which is the substratum of all manifestation, this chitti is swatantra. Swatantra means it is free. It is autonomous. It is not dependent on anyone. Like, for example, we are independent, but we are still dependent for getting air, for getting food, for getting a house, for getting salary, for getting clothes, for getting love and care from someone. But Acharya Khemaraj says, Chitti is Swatantra. It is not dependent. This ultimate consciousness has got no dependence on anything. It is self-dependent. It has power within itself. It creates power within itself. It disseminates that power, and it just brings back that power back into itself. So Chitti Swatantra Vishwasiddhi Hetu means this ultimate consciousness is free and autonomous, and Vishwasiddhi, its job through the joy is to create Vishwasiddhi. Now, what is Vishwasiddhi? Vishwasiddhi is the Shiva's role, Paramashiva's role. Now, he has got 5 krityas, which we call Panchakritya. Now, what are those Panchakrityas of Shiva? The Panchakritya is that Shiva has the power of creation, power of sustenance, and power of dissolution. Means, for example, the simplest example is something is born, something is maintained, and then the same dies and aligns back with the nature. So this is called Shrishti, Sthiti, and Samhar. Means creation, sustenance, and dissolution. So these are the 3 important krityas of Shiva. But there are 2 more krityas. So one kritya is the power of concealment. That's called Tirodhana Shakti. Like we have the Shrishti Shakti, Sthiti Shakti, and Samhar Shakti. The ultimate consciousness has also the Tirodhana Shakti, which is called the Shakti of concealment, hiding everything, and then Shakti of Anugraha, which is revealing, power of blessing. So, in the process of creation, sustenance, and dissolution, it has the power to hide and power to reveal. Now, these Panchakrityas are a part of that universal consciousness where Shiva or ultimate consciousness or Paramashiva performs these 5 Panchakrityas. The Kashmir Shaivism talks about that the Paramashiva descends, and that descension happens through this process of creation. But that descension through the process of creation happens through certain tattvas. And in Kashmir Shaivism, there are 36 tattvas through which Paramashiva descends on the earth. From the Shiva tattva to Prithvi tattva, there are 36 tattvas, and these are the fundamental principles or the elements of creation of Paramashiva. And this is a continuum from Paramashiva to the Prithvi element. This is a complete continuum in which the consciousness experience can be experienced. So these 36 tattvas are in a descending order, and these are different stages of creation from Paramashiva to the Jiva, which is at the last point of earth level, the Prithvi level. So this 36 tattvas are also considered as the framework of universe and spiritual evolution. And from the more subtle and from the more spiritual past to the most grossest part, that is the material part, that is the Prithvi tattva, from that spiritual tattva, from the Shiva tattva, from that more subtle tattva, it comes down to the grossest tattva, that is the material tattva. And from the highest level of realization, it comes down to that lowest level of realization. So these 36 tattvas, I would like to just explain these tattvas. So these tattvas are also divided into three forms. One is the pure Shuddha form, another is Shuddha Ashuddha form, and then the third one is Ashuddha form. So what is Shuddha form? The Shuddha form is when Paramashiva is still in its ultimate consciousness state, but he has not yet started revealing it to the material world. But in those levels, the Shuddha Tattvas, there are five tattvas. One is Shiv Tattva, Shakti Tattva, Sadashiv Tattva, Ishwar Tattva, and Vidya Tattva. Now, these are the Shuddha forms of Paramashiva. Now, these five tattvas have got five different traits associated with it, which I will explain a little bit later. The second level is the Shuddha Ashuddha Tattva, which is Maya and Purusha. Maya has got five kanchuks, five coverings, five shields, five jackets along with it. So Maya and Purusha, these are the Ashuddha Tattvas. And after Maya and Purusha, there is Prakriti, Antakaran, Gyanendriya, Karmendriya, Tanmatra, and Panchabhutas. So these rest of the items are called Ashuddha Tattvas. So what happens is that at the Shuddha Star, at the Paramatma, at the Shiva Tattva, the Supreme Consciousness is the ultimate reality beyond time, space, and the source and essence of all existence, transcending attributes at that level. So that is the Shiva Tattva, where the Shiva is the ultimate consciousness part, and the Shakti is the second Tattva, which is the power to manifest that awareness of Shiva. So this Shiva and Shakti, this Prakash and Vimarsha, as the first two tattvas, the pure tattvas. These pure tattvas of Shiva and Shakti, they get translated to Sadashiv Tattva. The Sadashiv Tattva is the third tattva, which is also called the Ichha Shakti. It is that tattva where Shiva and Shakti have started recognizing that I-ness, and now there is a Ichha to reveal itself to the outer world. So Sadashiv Tattva in Kashmir Shaivism is about that state of Paramashiva where he is now recognizing himself, and there is a bhav coming up that I am this, and from this I-ness I have to move ahead, and I have to get knowledge, information, which comes in the Ishwar Tattva. The fourth Tattva, the Shuddha fourth Tattva, is the Ishwar Tattva, which is the principle of universal knowledge and perception. So in the Sadashiv Tattva, where there is Ichha, the power of Ichha Shakti, when Ichha Shakti in the Sadashiv Tattva gets created, gets more vibrantly coming up, there is a sankalpa, there is a resolution that I have to do something now. And in the order of doing something now, the Sadashiv Tattva moves to Ishwar Tattva. The Ishwar Tattva becomes dominant, which is the knowledge Tattva, Jnana Shakti. So here, the Jnana Shakti makes the Sadashiv, makes the Paramshiv realize that there is this also. So in the Sadashiv Tattva, the I-ness is more dominant. But in the Ishwar Tattva, when more knowledge and information and awareness starts coming up, the thisness is becoming now more dominant. So as the thisness becomes dominant in Ishwar Tattva, there is the next Tattva that gets created, and that is the Sadavidya Tattva. This is also the Shuddha Vidya among the top 5. And in the Sadavidya Tattva, this is the Tattva of creation. It is also called Kriya Shakti. So in Sadashiv Tattva, it is the intention, it is the will, it's the Ichha Shakti. Ishwar Tattva, it's the Jnana Shakti. In Sadashiv Tattva, it is the I-ness. In Ishwar Tattva, it is the thisness. And in Sadashiv Tattva, it becomes I-ness and thisness. Now, in Sadashiv Tattva, it's very clear, but they are still in the state of Param Shiva's abode. But the clarity is now there that there is I-ness and there is thisness. And here starts the next step, the next Shakti, that is the Maya. And because now it is clear that there is a duality of I-ness and thisness, the Maya comes in, which is the next Shakti. But the Maya is not the pure Shuddha form. The Maya is the Shuddha, Ashuddha form. It has got both principles. It has got power to differentiate between I and this, but then it has got power to hide the things from the next tattvas as it moves. So the Maya has its 6 kanchuks. Kanchuks are in the Kashmir Shaivism called 6 tattvas. So Maya is one tattva. This is the principle of illusion that creates the perception of duality and separation from the divine. And Maya has got 6 additional tattvas which create further, which strengthen that illusion further. And what are those 5 kanchuks of Maya? One is Kala Tattva, another is Vidya Tattva, the third is Raga Tattva, fourth is Kala Tattva, and the fifth is Niyati Tattva. So let me explain what the Kala Tattva and Kala Tattva means. So Kala Tattva is about the principle of limited creativity and action. So this Kala means that it creates that perception that I cannot do this, I can do this, but I cannot do this. So it creates that sense of limitation. And because there is sense of limitation, there is sense of urge to do everything. The Vidya Tattva is the sense of limited knowledge, the principle of limited knowledge and perception. So this limited knowledge is possessed by the individuals. So that is why the individuals always keep on looking for more and more knowledge, because they think they are not having the complete information. So limited knowledge and the perception is created. The third is the Raga Tattva, the principle of attachment and desire. We call the Raga, Dvesh, what we call the. So Raga Tattva is where we are attached to certain things. So this power of Maya creates this sense of attachment and desire among the individuals. The fourth is the Kala Tattva, which is the Kala is the time, the principle of time, creating a sense of past, present, and future. And in this sense, the experience of time as a sequence of events affecting the perception and the action. So this creates another illusion in the individuals. And then we have got Niyati. So Niyati is the principle of order and limitations governing the rules and laws of the universe, which is the space, time, motion. So that is the Niyati. So this Maya and these 5 kanchuks, they create a sense of separation, and they create a veil between what we saw the Param Shiva's 5 powers, which is which is Shiv Shakti, Shiv and Shakti, and then Ichha Shakti, and then Jnana Shakti, and then Kriya Shakti. So these are the 5 powers of Shiva, and this is actually the ultimate consciousness and its traits. But when the Maya comes in, and this Maya and these 5 Kanchuks, they create a layer of illusion. They create a veil, and that veil prevents an individual to actually see through them that he or she is ultimately the Shiva. So Shiva is descending down, and in the process of descending, it goes through the Maya, and because it goes through the Maya, it becomes contracted. So as I said, that consciousness expands and consciousness contracts, and as the consciousness descends down and passes through Maya Shakti, the individual has the inability, because it is now more contracted, and the individual cannot see beyond that illusion of Kala, Vidya, Raga, Kala, and Niyati. So with these tattvas, Maya and Kanchuks, and these 5 Kanchuks, the Purusha is born. Now this Purusha is like an Atma. This is the inner Atma, inner soul of the individual. And this soul, and this is the contracted Paramashiva. So Paramashiva, which is the ultimate consciousness, through its Shiva Shakti, Sadashiva, Ishwar, Vidya, and Maya, has contracted in the form of Purusha, which is the Atma, is unable to see that because of Maya. And from Purusha and its Prakriti, like Prakash and Vimarsha, the Purusha and Prakriti, the Purusha is the contracted state of Paramashiva and Shiva, and Prakriti is that Shakti through which Purusha can see now himself or herself as an individual. So this is where the journey of an individual starts. And then the Purusha has got Antakaran, which is Man, Buddhi, and Ahankar, through which an individual is able to process information, determine and decide and discriminate. And then it has got Gyanendriyas, which are the Indriyas, the instruments to gather the knowledge, which is eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, which also called Chakshu, Shotra, Granu, Jiva, and Twak. And then it has got Karmendriyas, which is through which it performs action. Gyanendriyas is through which it gathers knowledge. Karmendriyas is through which it performs action, which is Hasta, Pada, then we call mouth, which is Bhaka, Anus, and Upastha. So Anus is the excretion organs. Upastha is the procreation organs. Hasta is hand, and Pada is feet, and Baka is mouth. So hand, feet, mouth, excretion, and procreation are the karmendriyas through which an individual performs action, and eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin are the sensory organs through which a person gains information, gets information. And then there is tanmatra. So these tanmatras are like a cloud where all the information about sound, touch, form, flavor, and odor, which we also call shabda, sparsha, roop, rasa, gandha. So these 5 tanmatras, they store all this information, and they directly work with the antakaran and help an individual to discriminate between certain things, understand certain things. But because there is Maya and 5 Kanchuks, those limitations will always be there, how a person will interpret, understand, process the information. But the last part of the tattvas is the Panchabhutas. The Panchabhutas is of which the individual is created. These Panchabhutas are Jal, Agni, Vayu, Akash, and Prithvi. So it's said that an individual, the physical form of an individual, is made up of these 5 tattvas. So in Kashmir Shaivism, compared to the other philosophies where there are 25 tattvas, in Kashmir Shaivism, there are 36 tattvas. And these 36 tattvas, the 11 extra tattvas are beyond the Purusha and Prakriti, which is Maya and 6 Kanchuks that I talked about. And then the Shuddha tattvas, which is Shiv Shakti, Sadashiv, Ishwar Tattva, and Vidya Tattva. So all these 36 tattvas form the complete continuum of the consciousness, and the individual is placed as a jiva. So from Shiva to Jiva, there is the Atma, the Purusha in between. So the Shiva is the ultimate consciousness, the Purusha is the Atma, and the Jiva is the physical form. And the moksha in Kashmir Shaivism is how one gets liberated. The liberation process in Kashmir Shaivism is through removing the ignorance. So in Kashmir Shaivism, the more a person becomes aware about himself, about his inner unconscious world, and as that unconscious world, he is able to go deeper and deeper and transcend the Maya, he or she will be able to connect with the Paramashiva, and a time will come that he or she will become Paramashiva. So Jeev is a form of Shiva, but it is the contracted form of Shiva where the ignorance does not allow him to recognize that he or she is Shiva. But as the process of unfoldment happens, there are certain steps in Kashmir Shaivism that are talked about, and these are in the form of upayas. So in Kashmir Shaivism, the method of self-realization. So self-realization is very important for moksha. The more one becomes realized, the more one gets closer to Paramashiva. And as a person becomes completely closer to his realization, ultimate realization, the individual becomes Paramashiva himself. And that is the state of moksha. In Kashmir Shaivism, also the moksha doesn't require one to shun the family life, to shun the personal life. A person doesn't need to, tyag his family or take a sannyas. In Kashmir Shaivism, moksha can be attained while being at work, while you are at profession, while you are at home, while you are working, while you are doing your business. You can do anything in your life, but yet you can have the process of self-realization through those upayas, and those upayas can help an individual to liberate and become more aware and get connected to Shiva. So what are those 4 upayas? In Kashmir Shaivism, 3 upayas are very important. One is the Anva upaya. So this is the most transactional, most basic upaya, most basic method. And in this method, the individual focuses on the individual effort and the power of action, the Kriya Shakti, the activities. It involves the use of external practices, and the disciples, what they do to purify themselves is they will do regular yoga, they will do meditation exercises, they will do alignment of body and mind. It's the most transactional level, a little bit of mantra, but a little bit of the yogic practices, the basic yogic practices is what is practiced in Anva Upaya. The second higher step is Shakta Upaya. So this Shakta Upaya is a method that involves knowledge. So the more one tries to read about various manuscripts, the more one tries to get more and more knowledge from gurus and from masters. And this Shakta Upaya is focused on the Jnana Shakti or the Kriya Shakti, which is Anva Upaya. the Shakta Upaya is more about the Jnana Shakti. So the utilization of intellect and mind, is where the Shakta Upaya actually focuses. It utilizes the intellect and the contemplative practices to realize one's true nature. So it's a subtler than Anvo Upaya, but it's more structured, and the masters help an individual to experience and learn how to get more deeper and connected. So there is the attainment of knowledge by reading, by experiencing, by exploring, by getting connected to gurus. There is the process of performing certain kriyas. There is a process of certain mantra ucharans. All this combination is into the Shakta Upaya. So the grace of Lord is 50%, and the personal efforts is around 50%, so as the masters say. And then the third and the highest level of method and upaya is the Shambhava Upaya. So this is the highest and the most direct means of realization, and it involves pure awareness and the will of the practitioner. While the Shakta Upaya is the Jnana Shakti Adharit, the Shambhava Upaya is Ichha Shakti Adharit. It involves the pure awareness and the will of the practitioner. That emphasizes the state of spontaneous and direct cognition of one's true nature without reliance on any external methods or mental constructs. So it doesn't require any exercises, it doesn't require any practices, but it's more about deepening the awareness. But it has to follow a process of Shakta Upaya. So there are possibilities. What gurus say sometimes, one can straightway enter into Shambhava Upaya, but that transition, the transition process is very, very different. And then the last Upaya is Anupaya, which is often considered in Kashmir Shaivism as no Upaya. It's the grace of the Lord that, the person has reached to that level, and suddenly there is just a prick from the master, or prick from the divine, or prick from the grace, that the person gets completely immersed in that ultimate consciousness, and there's no effort required. It's also called the effortless upaya. So these four upayas are prescribed in Kashmir Shaivism, and these are the ones which help an individual to connect. But in Kashmir Shaivism, it is also mentioned that while one practices the upayas, one has to be aware of the obstructions that will prevent a person from attaining liberation, attaining that self-recognition. And there are three malas, three impurities that can prevent. So malas are like impurities or limitations that will obscure the true nature of the soul and prevent realization of one's inherent divinity. So these three malas are Anomal, Mayimal, and Karmamal. So Anomal is the impurity or limitation that is created that creates a sense of individuality and separatedness from universal consciousness. The Mayimal arises from the power of Maya, the principle of illusion that gives rise to perception of diversity and multiplicity in this universe. And the third is Karmamal. It is the impurity that is related to the actions and their consequences. And this Mayimal binds individuals to a cycle of karma, where actions lead to the corresponding reactions, creating bondage and limiting the freedom. So this Anvamal, Mayimal, and Karmamal are the barriers to self-realization. And one has to recognize and work on these barriers. There is very important, beautiful philosophy of Matrika also mentioned in Kashmir Shaivism. And Matrika Shakti in Kashmir Shaivism is the power of words. And in Kashmir Shaivism, Matrika is considered as, or Kashmir Shaivism says that the universe is created and sustained by the vibrations of sound embodied in the form of Matrika, or the Matrika is also called the mother, like a, e, e, u, a, I, o, au, ah. So these words are considered to be very powerful. Like Anand and bliss is a and a. Similarly, will and desire is E and E. Similarly, all the words like the five energies that I talked about, they are represented by the vowels like A, E, I, U, A, I, O, Ama. These vowels represent the five energies, and the Shiva Tattva is in these vowels, and then the Shakti Tattva you will find in the consonants. So there is a complete science behind Matrika, which I will not talk here. But in Matrika, one important theory is the theory of Vak, theory of speech. So the speech is divided into four parts. One is Vaikri. Vaikri is what I'm right now doing. I'm talking. I'm speaking. I'm using these words. They are falling on your eardrums, and I'm able to convey to you what I want to convey to you. And this is called Vaikri in external senses. But the second aspect of the Vak is Madhyama, which is not the spoken word, which is a thought at the mental level. It is where the words are getting formed before I speak them. So it's called Madhyama. So Madhyama and Vaikri, they are the important constituents of speech. But behind Madhyama, there is a discrete classification of intuition that's called Pashyanti. So in that intuition, one gets ideas, one gets thoughts, one gets different kind of experiences before they actually culminate into Madhyama and form the words, and then they are spoken as Vaikri. And then behind Pashyanti, there is Para, which is absolute, which is transcendent. And Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikri, sometimes we call Paravak, means we say that Saraswati is on his tongue or on her tongue. What does it mean? Saraswati on tongue means the Para and the Vaikri are getting connected like a garland. So when Para and Vaikri get connected, it's not the words I speak, it is the words that of Para, it's the words of the ultimate consciousness. So in Kashmir Shaivism, there's a beautiful explanation on Matrika, and I find this a beautiful science. And what modern communication system talks about is only to a very limited level. Matrika Shakti and theory of walk and theory of speech is very, very scientific and very, very detailed. And it gives you a very different idea that as we meditate, as we go deeper and deeper, we get access to the world which is beyond our conscious and unconscious, which is world beyond the unconscious, which is supraconscious, and where there is a collective consciousness coming together and helping an individual to recognize, realize, and understand and explain and find different meanings to the same word. So with these words, what I talked about, that we have in Kashmir Shaivism 36 tattvas. The consciousness is Paramashiva, and this Paramashiva is Chitti. Chitti is Swatantrata, and this Chitti has a role to come down in the Srishti, create Srishti, and create Sthiti, and then create Samhara, means creation and sustenance and resolution, and then the power of concealment and power of blessing is what these powers do. And these five powers, Shiva Shakti, Sadashiva Tattva, and Ishwar Tattva, and Sadvidya Tattva, are the five powers of Shiva, which is Chitta Shakti, Ananda Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. These five powers, they have the ability to create Maya. Maya is another Shakti which creates illusion and veil, and from there are other 25 elements where the Purusha comes in, which is the Atma, and then the Antakaran and the rest of the tattvas, which going down to earth level, the Prithvi level. So with that, with these tattvas, which is the continuum of the complete consciousness, I also talked about the upayas, how one can ascend back, while the descent is the coming down of Param Shiva as a jiva, and the essence is how jiva goes back and connects back with Shiva. So for going back for jiva to Shiva is through upayas, and these are the 4 upayas I talked about: Anva upaya, Shakta upaya, Shambhava upaya, and Anu upaya. And I also said that there are 3 malas which prevent us to really recognize ourselves or pursue those upayas. There's Anvamal, Mayimal, and Karmamal. And then I also mentioned about the Matrika, which is the power of words, and which is also talking about the theory of Vak. So Matrika has got power, the Varnamala, and then it also has the theory of Vak, the speech, how that speech happens from Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikhri. So with those words, I will just stop here, and I would seek apologies if I have done any mistake, because this is something which I'm not a master of, but I am also learning in the process. The grace of Paramashiva, whatever I have spoken words, and if they have conveyed some meaning, it is His grace to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nehru. It is really an amazing extempore speech. Previously, we thought of having a presentation. I think focus would not have been there in the presentation than your extempore speech. It looks like each one of these 36 tattvas and many subtitles you talked about, they themselves could be a separate presentation by you later on, especially on Vak. And then you touched upon Maya, Mal. All this, I think we can explore further, and very interesting. Now, we also got, as mentioned earlier, Anugraha Bhashanam by His Holiness. That is going to take about 5 minutes or so. We will play that now. We'll put you in the backstage.
शांति, सुरक्षा और प्रगति के लिए जो प्रार्थना और प्रयत्न का काम जो हो रहा है, उसमें 10-12 वर्षों से कांची कामकोटि पीठम के द्वारा श्रीनगर कश्मीर घाटी स्थित श्रीनगर में ज्येष्ठा देवी मंदिर में तथा शंकराचार्य हिल में हवन, अभिषेक, वेदों का पाठ का कार्यक्रम आयोजित हो रहा है। विश्व शांति यज्ञ का कार्यक्रम के द्वारा वहाँ जम्मू कश्मीर में अच्छे सात्विक पर्यावरण का निर्माण हो, वहाँ अनेक प्रकार का रोजगारी या अच्छी विद्या, अच्छे व्यापार, ये सब अच्छे पर्यावरण का माहौल हो, उस दृष्टि से ये कार्यक्रम हो रहा है। उसमें अनेक ग्रंथों का भी पुनर्मुद्रण हो रहा है, जो कश्मीरी संस्कृति, सभ्यता, सदाचार से संबंधित है। वैसे कश्मीरियों का जो शारदा लिपि है, जो भी कर्मकांड लोगाक्षी मुनि के द्वारा, गोबिल मुनि के द्वारा संचालित वैदिक परंपरा है, और अमरनाथ तीर्थ स्थान का जो महात्म्य है, नीलमत पुराण का जो भी कथा है, वह वर्चस्व शासकों के द्वारा वहाँ धार्मिक और संगीत और सांस्कृतिक कार्यक्रमों का जो भी विवरण है, राजतरंगिणी के द्वारा जो विवरण है, चरित्रात्मक प्रगति इत्यादि कश्मीर का एक अच्छे दृश्य प्रजा और भक्तों के बीच में रखने का ये प्रयत्न हो रहा है। उसके एक अंग के रूप में जागृति और जानकारी देने के लिए आज का तकनीकी के माध्यम से थ्रू टेक्नोलॉजी अभी तक 100 कार्यक्रमों का आयोजन हुआ है। जो गुरु पूर्णिमा के दिन में जो कार्यक्रम हो रहा है वो 100 कार्यक्रम है। ऐसे 100 कार्यक्रमों के द्वारा जो पढ़े लिखे व्यक्ति है, जो देशभक्त है, जो भी संस्कृति अपने सभ्यता सदाचार को मानने वाले हैं, उनको सबको भी ये कश्मीर के प्रति श्रद्धा और उत्साह और सेवा भाव का बढ़ाने का भी ये उद्देश्य है। जो भी कश्मीरी परंपरा से जो आ रहे हैं, जो देश में है और विदेशों में है, उन सबको भी उनका परिवार में कल्याण हो, वो भी अपने मातृभाषा संस्कृति का रक्षण करके वहाँ हिमालय जो प्रदेश है वहाँ भगवान के कृपा से अच्छे ज्ञान का संरक्षण करके उस विद्वत्ता के मार्गदर्शन के द्वारा कश्मीरियों को भी कल्याण होना, वहाँ प्रदेश में भी अच्छे प्रगति, तीर्थ स्थानों का विकास, समस्त जनता का भी सद्बुद्धि और प्रगति होने के लिए भगवान से प्रार्थना करेंगे। इस विशेष कार्यक्रम में राज नेहरू करके हरियाणा स्थित विश्वकर्मा विश्वविद्यालय के उपकुलपति, जिनके द्वारा देश विदेशों में स्किल्स डेवलपमेंट में और अन्य तकनीकी के क्षेत्र में बहुत कार्यक्रम हुआ है, उनका आज विशेष ये रविवार में भाषण होने का है। ऐसे जो अनुभवी है, ऐसे जो विद्वान हैं, उन लोगों का सेवा भाव के द्वारा दोबारा जिसका प्रगति का जरूरत है, जिस संस्कृति का प्रचार का जरूरत है कश्मीरियों का, उसमें परिणाम अच्छा परिणाम हो। दोबारा जो आज के गणना के द्वारा जो कहते हैं 7 लाख, ऐसे कश्मीरियों का समस्त परिवार का भी ईश्वर का कृपा से ऐसे जो देश के अनेक क्षेत्रों में कश्मीर और कश्मीरियों के प्रति जो श्रद्धा रखते हैं, उनके सेवा भाव के द्वारा सरकार के मदद के द्वारा अच्छा कल्याण होने के लिए भगवान से प्रार्थना करेंगे। हर हर शंकर, जय जय शंकर।
So thank you, Dr. Nehru. Finally, I think we are blessed. We happened to get that just in time due to travel and puja and Vyasa Puja just commencing from tomorrow. So somehow we got it in the last minute, and you are truly blessed. I think you mentioned your name also towards the end. So thank you so much for this, and let's stay in touch. So we'll try to continue your Kashmiri Shaivism and connected titles that you mentioned, each one, I think we can make it as a separate presentation. So you could be coming on our program more in our series soon.
Right, right.
Thank you so much, and we will keep that presentation that you made. We can make use of it in the coming ones.
Right.
Hare Shankara, Jai Jai Shankara. Thank you
Jai
very
Jai
much.
Shankar, Jai Jai Shankar, Jai Jai Shankar.
Thank you, viewers. We want to just thank Kanchi Mutt channels for streaming and for the Anugrah Washroom just in time towards the end. As we mentioned in our flyer, we also would like to thank Dinamalar, India's only leading Tamil newspaper that gives maximum coverage for our Kashmiri series. We have more programs lined up, and incidentally, in the coming month, that is on August 15th, 2024, next month, we'll be completing our third year. And we have lined up very important personalities to appear in our program to talk on Kashmir. So we will continue our program, and we look forward to seeing you live or watching it later on in our YouTube collections. Jai Jai Shankara, Hare Shankara.